Once again, welcome to our garden. This is Ronald, your gardener. People will always ask, why do you do gardening? Or why do you do farming? You see, in our statistics in the Philippines, if you just calculate it, how much does each household spend in one year's time? So let's say, for example, how much do you spend in one day? For one household, say for example, you have 1 kilo every mealtime just for rice. How much do you spend for a whole day? So you multiply that by 3, 50 times 3, that's 150. You multiply that by 1 month, you have 4,500. And you multiply that by 12 for 1 year, you have 54,000. If you say you plant your own rice, if we go back to the times during our grandparents, their rice or maybe their corn, whatever they had for a staple food, how much do they produce? Usually they produce enough for them to last a season, 3 or 4 months. And they will still have enough rice or corn when the fresh harvest comes in. So they had ample supply of food. They did not buy, they just grew their own food. So that would mean a savings of what? 54,000. Now, that's just for rice alone. Okay? How about for vegetables? Typically people before, they had vegetables in their backyard. That's why in the Philippines we have the song Baha'i. And you have everything all around the house. Now, how much do you spend for like your viand, ulam, sudan in one setting, in one mealtime? Maybe you can say, including the salt, including the whatever you add into your food, you may have maybe at least 50 to 100 if you really go for what? Vegetables. If you go for fish, maybe how much can you consume? Maybe half a kilo? I don't know how much a kilo of the fish right now. But you see, for one day, let's say for example, you have an expense of maybe for one day you have an expense of 100 to 200. You multiply that by 30, you have around 6,000. 3 to 6,000, depends upon your consumption. And then you multiply that by 12, you basically have another 60 to 70,000. So you see, what if you grew your own food out in the country like this? Especially to those who are in the cities, you may not understand it, but we know that God has given us, God has given man the longing to be out in nature, right? Why is it very important to be out in nature? So you see, when you grow your own food, what happens? You have food stability, you have food security. You see, sometimes we don't count these blessings that we plant. We always count our blessings basing on the monetary gains that we have. So we usually consider success as having a car, having enough money in the bank, but actually those are just temporary things. Because when everything else fails, the economy, there's no food around, what you have in your backyard, I mean, is what will sustain you. So we invite you to come into our garden to learn from what we have learned. You learn from our mistakes so that if you yourself would want to go into gardening, you will know, okay, you can start with this, you can start with this, we can avoid that thing, you can avoid that, so that once you start it, you will avoid the mistakes that we have done, okay? And it's very, very wonderful to see the progress that you go through. Like previously when we started to grow our tomatoes, had problems with pests, had problems with the climate, rain. But in God's time, He provided us with simple technologies that has helped us grow all these vegetables. And we ask you, we invite you to come with us so that you yourself may know how to grow this food fresh from your garden. And just to pick the vegetables fresh from your garden, put it in your salads, fresh. It's just an amazing joy that only a gardener will experience. You see, if you are out in the restaurant, of course, you have this fresh salad, but of course, that's still fresh from the garden. But if you just picked it up fresh from your garden, the joy of eating your own produce gives you such wonderful excitement, such wonderful sense of accomplishment, and sense of belongingness to be in one with God, especially when you're out in nature. We ask of you that as you seek God, to be out in nature, to be out doing His will. Because if we go back to the first book of the Bible, Genesis, who first started the garden? It was God, our Father, who planted a garden eastward of Eden. So you see, even in heaven, we will still all be gardeners. And may we enjoy the produce, may we enjoy the joy of being out in the garden, talking to God while doing His will. Because in these last days when a great crisis will come, people will be looking for food. And if people will be looking for food, who will provide for their food? The cities will be in such calamities, in such turmoil. Where do they go? You can just remember what happened during the Typhoon Yolanda or Typhoon Haiyan. I had a friend who was they stayed in Leyte at the time. They are from Leyte. And when the typhoon struck, he said the estimate of the government of 10,000 was just a very small estimate of those that died. Because for him, there was one village, one coastal village or an island which had 10,000 residents, and all these were wiped out. So where did they go for food? Everybody was looting all around, robbing everybody, because there was no food. That's why God is calling us out from the cities into the garden. And we invite you to join us and taste and see that the Lord is good.
He's Coming Broadcasting Network.